Before we dive into the episode, quick reminder, the Chase Tracker app is now available exclusively for Chase Club members. It's the easiest way to track your 5 factors of health and stay consistent with what matters. Join us at chasingexcellence.email. All right, let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. We've got an interview, we've got a conversation, we've got a chat that Ben had with Laura Ianello. She's the head women's golf coach at the University of Texas. She won the NCAA championship at Arizona in 2018 when she was coaching there, and she is now building a program at Texas. Now, golf is one of the most mentally demanding sports in the world, and you can sub mentally demanding with mildly infuriating if you so chose. Every shot matters, mistakes compound, and unlike most sports, you're not competing against an opponent that is across from you. You are competing against yourself. Laura has become an expert at helping young athletes master their minds under pressure when every moment is measured, when comparison is constant, and when the gap between intention and outcome can often create anxiety. What makes this conversation valuable is that the mental game Laura teaches isn't just about golf. Of course, it's about how any of us can develop mastery in high-stakes environments where mistakes feel like they compound instantly. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a parent, a creator, an athlete in your own field, this is about learning to stay present, let go without being careless, and compete without comparing yourself to everybody else around you. So, without any further ado, let's get into it.
You are in Texas, you're in Austin right now, and you are at, when you say your golf course, what is your golf course?
Well, I'm at the University of Texas, and luckily, the University of Texas, we have our own golf course. So it's called the University of Texas Golf Club.
The college I went to did not have its own golf course, to say the least. That's so awesome. So that is, if I get this right, that was one of the big things that kind of like pulled you away from Arizona, was just to be at a university like Texas that is, the entire athletic department is so committed to excellence. Is that kind of fair to say?
100%. To pull me away from Arizona, my alma mater, had to be something special. And the people at the University of Texas, the other coaches that I get to, I guess, have this walk with, as well as the resources, the facilities, was a calling of why I needed to be here.
Yeah. And you get to like maybe run into Matthew McConaughey. So you never know.
Glenn Powell, hello.
Amazing. All right. So give me a little sense of, let's maybe start off with, frame this up for people a little bit, but you've had a lot of success individually as a golfer in your golfing career, and then as a coach at University of Arizona, and now building the program at UT. Give me a little, and obviously it's a multifaceted, right? But why is, let me just for people that are listening and have a sense of golf, but why is golf like one, in your sense, I think of it as one of the purest mental sports. I don't know if there's a sport that requires so much, wrong words, but mental toughness, mental clarity. This idea that you can be essentially a scratch or a subpar player at your local club, but you go into a competitive setting and things can the wheels can fall off really quickly, and it makes it so much more challenging. If I kind of said that, like, golf has been one of the most mentally pure sports, what's your take on that?
It is. And even more when you get to a very high level of play, with the Scotty Schefflers and like our player, like Farrah O'Keefe, who's ranked 7th in the world, and being able to manage their mental game, because golf, that's it. You are playing your own golf ball. You're playing with your own clubs. You're managing your own game. There's no teammate to pass a ball to, or it's nothing. You're literally intrinsic for 18 holes. College golf is a fun environment because it's the one time in your life that you actually get to be on a team, but yet you're still completely out by yourself. And so I think something that we really try to work with our players, because golf is such a mental game, is making sure that they're in control. Can they identify when they're losing control? And when they have lost control, did they have the management skills of themselves, through self-talk, body language, focus, physical actions to get them from, like that red zone of lost control to in control. And, on the pro side though, luckily a lot of players, they have a caddy. They have a caddy that also kind of not necessarily is just someone giving numbers and giving course management, but literally is probably a mental performance coach on the golf course. So the amateur level, the amount of training that should be going into these athletes on the mental side, it's just as important as the physical.
That's awesome. I've actually never thought of that in terms of the caddies acting as mental performance coaches, but yeah, it makes so much sense, and what an advantage if you have somebody that can kind of pull that. If this is at the all levels, particularly the level you play at, golf is that recognition that the true opponent is internal, as you said, like your self-talk, your attention, your emotions, and the mental work is as much as the physical. What does the mental work look like? What is the actual nuts and bolts? What are the things that you're doing with your athletes to help them when things start to, or even before things, and hopefully they don't spiral?
Right. Well, gosh, I've read so many books. I mean, your book this summer really, really hit me hard with just, chasing excellence, finding those behaviors that we can help our players. That's pretty much how I tagged you in my Instagram post. But I think the biggest thing is what I'm doing is I have my own coach. I think coaches need coaches and always working on that. But then with our players, honestly, what we're doing, especially at the University of Texas, is we have a mental performance coach. We have someone who's working with us. We actually are working with Brian Kane right now on his MPM program. And honestly, the best thing that we're doing, it's our off season. November, December, January is the time where we actually get to dive in, have team meetings, talk the real talk of pressure, expectations, all those things that's really hard to talk about. And one thing that we do is we have a lot of drills that are just going to help our skill set, like identifying when we are in a red zone, like what are some things and routines that we can build. Is it if you notice you're in a red zone, you need to find a physical action where you're putting your glove in your bag, you are taking a deep breath, you're finding a focal point, and then boom, from there, you're not taking your first step forward into the next shot until you have a routine of, maybe a verbal trigger like, okay, next shot. Those type of routines, those type of drills are really, really helping, I think, our ladies elevate and be ready for the LPGA or professional golf.
I'd love to hear more about, like, pause there for a second. So those routines, those rituals, if somebody isn't feeling like they had just a, because in golf, like, that idea of every shot matters can be paralyzing. And I like that idea you said of, like, losing control and how do you regain it. Some of those rituals and drills is when they, maybe first explain, like, what a red zone is, but when they find themselves in a red zone, it's football season, so everyone's thinking, like, inside the 20-yard line. But then it may just, like, kinda go a little bit deeper into that in terms of, like, what does a drill look like? How do you practice that routine of glove, self-talk, reframe, first step? Can you just build that out a little bit more? What may start with, what is a red zone?
Okay, so a red zone in golf is when you find yourself spiraling or you've spiraled to the point where I mean, to the extreme of throwing a golf club, kicking your golf bag, but like on a higher level, a red zone would be that negative self-talk where you're literally telling yourself that you suck, you should quit the game, like what are you doing? Just all of those negative form. Like red zone is you've lost absolute control of all pieces of yourself, right? And so what we do here at Texas is, in the off season, we'll go out and we'll play and we'll simulate competition, we'll simulate pressure, we'll do drills. And so we make the ladies identify, okay, like what are you feeling at this moment? Okay, so here's our routine. Here's everybody's such an individual where everybody has to build their own routine. For one of my players, the first physical action for her would be putting her glove, like recognizing first and foremost, you have to recognize the state that you're in. If you can't recognize, and if you're in denial of when you're in a red zone compared to the yellow, compared to the green, then you're in a really lost place and God help you. But the first thing is identifying when you are in that space, when you are in that red zone, then one, having a physical action to change that behavior. So for some players, it might be cleaning the club. Like you're not going to put that club in the bag until it's done cleaning, right? The physical action. Then I think after that, you have to have some form of slight breathing routine, or you need to take a deep breath, a focal point. Maybe you need to just look at your golf bag, or you need to look at a tree in the distance, breathe, have something to release because you're identifying you're in a red zone and you got to get out of it, right? No good golf happens in a red zone. That's what we talk about. Like, might as well just carry your bag into the clubhouse and quit for the day because there's no chance of playing good golf in that state of mind. So you go from physical action to a focal point, then breathing. And then from there, you have a verbal trigger. We like to have a verbal trigger. So something you would then say to yourself, self-talk, like, all right, let's go get it, next shot. Or it's different for everybody. Or like hook 'em horns. I don't know. Everybody's got their different thing, right?
Yeah.
But to me, the being able to identify and then quickly having a physical action of glove goes on the bag at a certain time when you know then you're going to regain control, or cleaning your club, or something like that.
We are brought to you by Element, the electrolyte drink mix that helps you stay hydrated without the sugar, food dye, or dodgy ingredients found in popular sports drinks. Those that shall not be named. Electrolyte imbalance isn't just an athlete thing. It affects all the humans. If you've ever woken up wrecked despite a full night's sleep, or crashed mid-afternoon even though you had a strong start, you know how draining it can all be. That's where Element comes in, delivering a science-backed dose of electrolytes that help you stay steady and recover faster. It's trusted by Team USA weightlifting, CrossFit champs, and Special Forces teams simply because, well, it works. Element's newest permanent flavor, lemonade salt, is the perfect daily go-to. Just mix it with water, add it to iced tea for a salty Arnold Palmer, or make a giant pitcher of salty lemonade. Try it for yourself. DrinkElement.com/excellence and get a free sample pack with any order. We are brought to you by Aura Frames. The best way to spread holiday cheer is to give an Aura frame and keep your family near. Is this a rhyme? Is this a Christmas carol? One of our favorite holiday traditions is cutting down a Christmas tree as a family. We've been doing it since the boys were little. We have photos going all the way back. Those are the kinds of moments that instantly feel like home and remind me that I love my children, even though sometimes they drive me nuts. An Aura frame lets you keep these memories rotating on display. Unlimited free photos and videos. Just download the Aura app and connect it to Wi-Fi. You can preload photos before it ships if you're giving this as a gift, and you can share photos straight from your phone all year long. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames when you use the code EXCELLENCE at checkout. That's Aura Frames, AURA frames.com, and use that code EXCELLENCE. We are sponsored by Skims, makers of men's underwear designed for all-day comfort, clean lines, and a fit that just disappears under whatever you're wearing. That's right, everybody. I'm going to talk about underwear, but also I'm going to talk about video editing. How are those two things related? There's a rule in video editing. The best editors are invisible. You don't notice the edit. You just feel the story. Underwear should be the same. See what I'm doing there? If you notice them all day long, something is wrong. Skims nails the nearly invisible part with fabrics that move with you, waistbands that don't dig, legs that stay put, so you're not doing the 5 p.m. adjustment dance. I rotate between the cotton 5-inch boxer briefs on slower days and the stretch 5-inch boxer briefs when I'm training or on the move. Both hold their shape, don't ride up, and keep a clean profile under shorts or jeans or whatever random pair of pants you find at the bottom of your closet. The result is simple: confident, comfortable, not thinking about yo underpants. Shop Skims Men at skims.com. After the checkout, pick podcast in the survey and select our show so Skims know that we sent you.
So good. I love that idea of it starts with a recognition. If you're in denial, you can't move forward at all. What are the things that you use to help people recognize that? Because if it's a third shot in a row that they, I don't know, put in the water, it's pretty obvious that they're going to be pissed off. They throw their club. That's a pretty big red flag. But what about when it there's that little bit of creep, there's that little bit of drift, and maybe they're not in the red, but maybe whatever the color is before red, they're orange. where they're like not the little bit of self-doubt's creeping in. How do you get your athletes to sort of recognize and be aware of that sort of drift away?
Oh, that's a good question, Ben. I mean, they just have, I don't know if there's a certain way for us to be able to actually get them to understand it. They have to be so self aware of where they are, but they also have to be very aware of like when they're in control and what does in control look like? What does in control body language look like? How does like we literally practice walking. I was talking to my player Papang the other day. I said, Papang, when you're feeling good and you're doing your thing, I said, "How do you walk?" And she literally showed the team, like, "This is my walk when I'm playing good golf." So I think first and foremost, you got to identify when you're in control. What does your behavior look like? What does your self talk look like? What are you doing? And journaling and making notes on are you more target focused? Are you more self-talk? Do you have one swing thought? I don't know. Everybody's different. So I think the biggest and foremost thing you have to do is be able to absolutely identify when you're in the green zone, when you're in that go zone, that in control, because then you're instantly going to be able to recognize when you're not.
Yeah, it's awesome. When you're doing this and you're working on people's response to pressure and you're simulating pressure, how do you go about doing that? Because I think giving people an opportunity to do this, I think of it as the parallels to real life. Training people in the gym, cool. You became a better gymmer. Doesn't count for a whole lot. But if we could use the gym as a training ground for life, holy smokes, like this thing becomes so powerful and so transformative. What is the things that you're doing to, like, simulate pressure? Like, how do you go about doing that when it's probably just manufactured, but unless you kind of put them in a pretty good simulation, you're probably not gonna get what you want out of it. What's that look like?
Yeah. One of the biggest shifts in mindset that I've seen, and it comes from Brian Kane and working with his program, is making sure that, of course, we are that saying, right? That 1% better every day. But with that, what comes with that is like with my women, I want them to look at every time we tee it up, every time that we are practicing, every time that we're competing, it's an opportunity to do something great or to do something that has never been done before. So every tournament that we tee it up, that is the most important tournament in our life. The day that you go to the gym, that is the most important day of your gym. It's not the day of the CrossFit finals. That day in that gym is the finals of the CrossFit Championship or the Comp Train Championship or whatever it is that you guys are what you do, right? But like so like that's where in your book, Chasing Excellence, too, it really got me to like we all have these end goals. We all have these big telescope goals, but if you don't dissect those into small goals and make sure that every day, if you're not seizing every day and making sure that you feel the same pressure every day, like the compounding effect of added pressure, added expectation when we do get to the national championship will be there. And so I want the women to know, like when we play in Los Angeles in February, that tournament, it's a great day. You could have the course record, or we could have the lowest team score in Texas history. There's something great that could come from today. So let's go into it as it's the most important competition, the most important day.
Yeah, it's we call it like the maximizing minutes when I was working with the athletes. And I really like that idea of if you go light in practice, then training is, then competition is this other thing that it feels so much heavier, it feels so much more consequences to it. But if you bring that attention, that effort, that meaning, that power to your everyday, to maximizing every minute, competition doesn't feel that different. I think that, Gino Ariema, the women's basketball coach at UConn, talks about this a lot. It's like the practice needs to be so much more intense than the game. And then if you're doing that, all of a sudden, what I think people miss is that gives you the opportunity to truly work through the mental frameworks. It gives you an opportunity to work through the mental toughness. If you keep that as something separate, and then you only kind of like get into these high pressure situations in game time, you haven't put in the 10,000 hours to become that master. So it's really important, not only for high level athletes that like you're working with, but for anybody that's going to the gym all the time is every single moment. If you have this idea of where am I am in that green, what are the zones? You have green, what?
Green, yellow, red.
Green, yellow, red. Yeah, where am like, if you're always kind of have that awareness level of where am I in this green, yellow, red, and then all of a sudden, once you pop out of green, do you have that, like, level of intentionality, that level of awareness? Are you recognizing the shift? Whatever it is, your body language, your thought patterns, your actual language, your actions, your gut feel, whatever it might be, so that you can try to work towards bringing yourself back towards green. We call it work back towards center. That's a really what an awesome opportunity. Like the opportunities are everywhere, right? They're all the time. So I think it's really important to have that high level of intentionality, no matter whether it's the championship game or practice or just walking around and going through class to class and being with your peers.
Mhm.
So you've gotten a chance to do this a couple times now, but when you move from Arizona to Texas to take over this new team, what's your thoughts on like culture building? How do you think about creating not just because as you said, golf is an individual sport, but you compete in a team. The team wins or loses. So it does matter. What is the team? The team format is just like individual play though, correct? It's not like Ryder Cup style or how does it go?
So we always travel as a team, 5 women play, and then
Mhm.
4 out of the 5 accumulates the team score. So it's super competitive. Like women's golf is really, really elevating, just like many women's sports. So it's intense.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about building that up and it is intense, it's super competitive, and it is the best 4 scores, it's a team. What are you thinking about doing in terms of building a culture for your team?
Well, as for like for my time at Arizona and from my time at Texas, I would say when it comes to building a strong culture and leading women as a coach for me, it all comes down to making sure like I know my mission and then I have a vision for that. And then with it does that align with like my core principles. And so like I always like to say my core principles at Texas is we have this saying Texas fight, right? That's our thing. So Texas fight as being our women are going to come. They're going to be super focused, F for in fight. Then we're going to come to the playing field every day with a level of intensity. We're going to have a G, growth mindset. We're going to continue to learn and get better every day. We have H, we're going to give our full heart into everything that we do. And then we're going to be a good team. We're going to be good teammates and have good teamwork and work together. I think that's at Arizona, it was a little bit different, but we kind of make sure that why I coach is because always going to be making sure that I'm giving the best to women so that they can be the best athletes and the best women, mothers, just people in general. Like that's my mission. Like I don't coach. I'm a golf coach. I'm not a football coach, so I'm not doing this to be a gazillionaire, but I'm pouring into people. I want to build these young girls and I want to help them be great women on and off the field or the golf course, right? And then I think, when I think about my vision is to win the first NCAA championship at the University of Texas in women's golf. Men's golf's won 4. So it's like I want to win the SEC championship. I want to graduate my student athletes. I want to make sure that my women are prepared for the next stage of life, if it's professional golf or working for Charles Schwab. I want to make sure that they have these like a strong mental toughness mindset, right? That these kids need today. And then into that, get 1% better, right? That's my vision for my that. So it's like just making sure that absolutely everybody has an MVP. They know their mission, they have their vision, and then they know their principles that define them.
I love that. Yeah, so much what we talk about as well. That vision, mission, principles, and so on. And I really like the Texas fight and FIGHT. And when it ends with that T, that team, how do you navigate this? There's sort of like weird dichotomy of like you want your team. It's kind of like the pie is only so big, and I want to get my slice. And if somebody else gets a bigger slice, that means less for me. Meaning you want to be there to support and help your team grow and be better. But if someone on the team is shooting a 68 and you shoot a 70, they're ahead of you, they're better than you, and now you might not be one of those top 5. How do you create that team dynamic when it's sort of it seems like unlike basketball, right? Which if your teammate gets better, they get better at passing the ball, it means more opportunity for you. If they're better at defense, it means that it might create more offense for you. It's like there's more pass off. If your quarterback's better and you're a receiver, that helps you. In this sense, it seems like the better that teammates get around you might mean less opportunity for you. How do you navigate that sort of dichotomy?
Yeah, but to your point, that's one of my biggest recruiting pieces is the top 5 people we surround ourselves with is really what sums us who we are. And so, if I have 9 women on the team, and so that means 4 women are usually staying home where the other 5 are playing. And so something that we do is we identify elite mindset, we identify elite behaviors. Golf is a very statistical sport where, we're knowing about our strokes gained putting, our fairways hit and blah blah. So you can flat out see stroke average, everything like the best players on the team are this. You're down here because your skills, your stats are down, 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 down. And something that we do to encourage a team culture and a cohesion is we've started everybody sharing their habits. Like James Cleary says in Atomic Habits, it's all about stacking habits. And so if maybe one of your teammates is doing this habit, we share. So we share on an app with everybody, and everybody sees the habits that they're doing, which has been really, really helpful. We just started this process actually. And so therefore, we also have accountability buddies. Every teammate on the team has one other teammate that is accountability buddy, to check in on them. And if they're like marking red on all their habits, like that person's going to check in on them, like, yo, what's going on? You doing okay? Because I think the most important thing about a team is, of course, having the same mission. Everybody's going to have their own core principles, but I think also there's a human effect where you actually do need to know that like your team is there for you, they care about you, you can trust them. That is huge. And so I think that is something with sharing habits and having accountability buddy has really, really helped to make sure that the team is working together, learning from one another because like you'll never not go to the gym or to go lift weights if you know somebody's going to meet you there at 5:30, you would never let that person down, right? So it's all kind of that same principle.
What are some of those habits that people track?
Well, it's even though shockingly as a D1 athlete, it's simple. Lift weights an extra three times a week besides training when our in our team time, right? Mobility work, getting a 15-minute stretch in before bed. One of them is a podcast, like a 15-minute podcast per day. Another one would be make sure I get 160 ounces of water. Another one would be getting 10,000 steps a day, which golfing it can be. Me, it's not hitting the snooze button. Like, I've got I've got two kids. I got to get them up ready to school. And I'm like, I want to sleep 10 minutes so bad, but not hitting snooze. Basic life stuff that will make us better. Me, it's more protein at 45 years old. I'm like, it's so hard for me to get 100 grams of protein in a day, but it's in my habit share and I'm working on it. So little stuff. Could be making your bed.
Do they choose their habits or is there like a list and you see how many of those things you can get?
So to start off, we're as coaches, we're kind of directing them like, okay, we're going to listen to this 2-minute podcast every day. So everybody's got that one. But I would say majority of all their habits we are self-driven, but I think it's been great because I think they are learning from another. I'll have like the ninth girl on my team looking at the habits of my number one player on my team, and they're like, oh wow, she does this. Oh, I should do this. So it's also a way they're learning from one another, which has been really great.
That's super cool. What's the app that you got? Is it just a regular habit tracking app or is it something that you guys created?
So it's habit share. It's Brian Kane. Brian Kane had us do it.
Got it. Love it. How long you guys been working with Brian?
A couple weeks now, he has worked with Jim Schlossnagel. Jim Schlossnagel is our amazing baseball coach here at the University of Texas. And I had listened to Jim talk and I've gotten to know Jim and he's always referencing Brian Kane. So I was like, you know what? I said, I got to look into this. But Schloss has been working with Brian for 20 years. And even though he doesn't work with a lot of golfers, he works with just a lot of professional baseball players. And baseball, you don't think is an individual sport, but it really is. When you're a
Right.
pitcher on the mound, sorry, you're by yourself. Or if you're in the batter's box, you're by yourself. So, and in the fact that I have Jim Schlossnagel here as a resource to kind of lock arms with and learn from him and how he's done things has been great.
We're brought to you by Function Health, the only platform giving you data most people never get and the insights to actually do something about it. We chose Function because inside the platform, you get access to over 160 lab tests annually, from hormones to toxins to markers of heart health, inflammation, and stress. And for an additional fee, you can also access MRI and chest CT scans, all tracked in one secure place over time. It's a near 360-degree view to better see what's happening in your body. If you're thinking about meaningful gifting this year, this is it. This gift will help your loved ones, your friends, your family, the random person at the grocery store understand their health and make informed decisions all year. Tell me a gift that would be more impactful than this. Go ahead. I'll wait. Okay, I can't wait that long though. We use Function and you should too. Own your health for just $365 a year. That's $1 a day. Learn more and join by using the link functionhealth.com/excellence or use the gift code excellence25 for a $25 credit towards your Function membership. We're sponsored this time around by Monarch. The holidays are supposed to be about joy and connection and Christmas cookies, but let's be real, between travel and gifts and hosting parties, it's easy to lose sight of your finances. One thing that I learned with Monarch is how easy it is to blow through the old holiday budget if you don't have a central place to track everything in real time. It's our essential year-end financial reset tool. You can link everything, investments, 401k, property value, to get your true net worth and stay on top of those end-of-year, start-of-year priorities. Monarch is rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool bringing together your entire financial life in one clean interface. And right now, for you, my dear friends, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year. So make 2026 the year of Monarch. Use the code excellence at monarch.com for that 50% off.
I went and just gave a talk to a baseball team last week, and one of the things I talked to them about was when I went out and worked with the Navy SEALs. They brought me out there to talk and work with them a little bit. We were swapping, no pun intended, war story. That's the wrong word. We were swapping methodologies, right? And I asked them, I was like, what is the hardest evolution you've ever had to go through? And you expect what you've seen, right? You expect like the log PT, the cold, the sleepless nights, Hell Week, the obstacle course, carrying the boats, like all of this stuff that is just so physically brutal. And they actually said it was the hardest evolution was after BUDS, which is the trial phase, and it was what they call the night swim. And the night swim is where they swim, I forget the distance, but a mile or two at night through the San Diego harbor out to a buoy. And then once they find that waypoint, they have to basically take a 90-degree turn and swim another 3/4 of a mile to their destination. And if you miss the waypoint, you basically just swim out to forever because there's no place to go. And it's nighttime, so they can't see anything other than they're finning with their masks on, and they're just staring at their wrist, which has a glowing GPS. And the reason it's so challenging is because it's 100% mental. There's no physical aspect to it at all. And being in the dark for those hours and hours by themselves, essentially, yes, they go with swim buddies, but just as you said, when you're in the batter's box, you're by yourself. Golf, yes, you're on a team, but when you step up to the tee, you're by yourself. Yes, you're on a team with team buddies, but you're swimming by yourself. You can't see them or hear them, staring at this glowing watch. And they also know that as they swim through the harbor underneath where the aircraft carriers are, the great white sharks hang out underneath on the other side of these aircraft carriers because the current doesn't pull them away. And in the middle of this swim, they'll get, they said, bumped up. Something will bump up against them that is bigger than a human. And the way that their mental storytelling spirals out of control is so bad that it can cause these panic attacks. And it's really hard. And the analogy I gave to the baseball team was like, baseball is the night swim of team sports. It is the only sport where you are basically out there by yourself with nothing but your thoughts for minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes between action. Mine is pitcher catcher, right? But if you play right field and it's not your turn up in the inning, you might go 25 minutes without doing anything other than standing in a field. And if you made a mistake in the previous inning, what is going through your head? And it can just destroy you unless you have, which I love your little protocol of like recognize the action or the physical action, the breath, the focal point, the verbal trigger, that idea of we're going to proactively take these steps to recenter. That's such a cool thing that is the same as golf. Golf is even like baseball times 4 or 5, I think, because I can imagine somebody that hasn't hit a good shot in a hole or two or has a bad hole gets up and then just like, if they have that sort of negative mindset, they're in the red, no good golf happens, the red, as you said. That ability to recenter makes it so, so important. Are there other things that you do to help people sort of, I don't know if it's recalibrate or have a short memory, something that allows them to, as they get up to that, they might have gone through the protocol, like you said, but then they do address the ball the next time and they still feel something. Is it still that same thing, just as a different way? They step back and kind of take a couple more practice swings, or what is that protocol when they feel it again?
Yeah, I think you just have to continue to stick to your process of getting out of red back to the green. I don't have any magic words as a coach, but I said sometimes you just have days where it just you can't get yourself out of it mentally, and that's okay. And I tell my women that, you know what? We're gonna shake off today, give yourself grace, and tomorrow we will do it all over again, right? And the biggest thing for me with women or even just with my own daughters is just give them a hug and be like, "We got you. It's gonna be okay." And that's why we got 4 other ladies on this team that are fighting, but a big thing that I love is that I preach to my women that confidence is not a feeling, it is a choice. And so therefore, like nerves and excitement on the first tee are awesome because you feel alive. And it means that it's something special, just before you start any competition. The nervousness, that to me is not lack of confidence. If you think it's a lack of confidence, then you are doomed, right? But like making sure that they know that confidence is a choice and that I always say ABC, always behave confidently. It's a Brian Kane thing as well, where I think that's the best thing that we can do as coaches is give them a hug and just remind them like, hey, you know what great performers do. So zap out of it and get out there and go to the next hole and you got this. That self-talk, just reinforcing all those things, like put your shoulders up high, head up high. As a coach, we can only control so little, right? But we can that be that little voice of reason of like, you got this.
Yeah, I love that. You said some cool things in there. I want to just kind of like double down on a little bit because it's easy to kind of just go, yeah, 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 yeah. I actually think that of all those, the hug, it sounds like nothing. That hug I found to be is like one of the more powerful things, which is I love you for you as who you are as a person, not as a performer. And so many people, especially high level athletes, have this perfectionism mindset, which is like a lot of it will stem from it's kind of this weird dichotomy, right? One of the reasons that people become such high achievers is because they associate love with accolades, awards, and attention, right? That's how they got it as I need to do, if I do well, I will get affection. If I don't, I don't. And when you give people that, I was working with Matt Fraser, who was one of the best athletes in our sport for so long. He's like, whether I win or I come in last, I get the same hug and the same feeling coming off the floor from my wife, Sammy. Like it doesn't matter. And knowing that allows me to compete so much more free than there's already the pressure of this. There's already this feeling I have. And oh my gosh, if I don't get this, I've seen it the other way, which is athletes get off the floor and then their family comes up to them. And the first thing they said is, what went wrong? What happened? What happened is such a common response when it doesn't go right. And that just, if people understood how much influence that had, and you as a coach, whether you're doing it consciously or subconsciously, is so powerful. That idea of I'm going to reward you for the person you are, not your performance.
But in my world, I just worked this CGX camp in Dallas. It's a top 25 for junior golfers who want to play Division 1 golf. And that's funny you said that because one of my things that I told parents, because I do think reflection is really important on performance, but parents sometimes when they're talking to their junior golfer, they only are like, "What happened today?" Or "What were you thinking on that hole?" Or "How could you hit that shot? What were you thinking?" And so another thing is just keeping the conversation on well, better, how. I talked about this extensively with these parents this last week of making sure that the communication you have is what did I do well? What can I do better? And then how can I make improvements or what can I do to make sure that I grow from this experience? And it doesn't matter, Kobe Bryant always said he had the same emotion whether or not he won the game or he lost the game because it's like you have to reflect and take things from both. Like
Love it.
so.
Yeah, absolutely. The other things we're saying is kind of how to like recenter is breath and then, but also body language. And I think that's so cool because what I've found working with these athletes and also from working with the SEALs, when I went out there, there was so much like overlap in terms of like our approach, their approach. The biggest difference was, and this was, I'm trying to remember 7 or 8 years ago, how much emphasis they put into breath. And we were not doing that. And when I came back, it was a huge thing I put into practice was this intentionality, understanding that breath is bi-directional, right? If you get stressed, anxious, nervous, fearful, and which would then lead to panic or anxiety, your breath gets short and shallow in your chest.
Mhm.
When you're relaxed in the parasympathetic state and ready to perform at your peak, it's in your belly, it's deep, it's diaphragmatic. Well, it works the other way as well. If you breathe from your belly, it puts you into that rest and relaxed state. If you breathe from your chest, it puts you into that state. So that understanding of how we can kind of like maybe like biohack your way back into a calm state is so cool. And there's one of the sympathetic sigh. Are you familiar with this? It's kind of been like Huberman's talked about this, but it's the double inhale with an exhale. It's like the fastest way to put yourself back into a rested state, which is this full inhale, this, but then you go again, and then this double inhale. And funny enough, the breathwork coach, I've worked with about 3 different breathwork coaches, and the one we work with now, that's like 80% of her practice. Every breathwork session is double inhale, and you double inhale, exhale for like 40 minutes in a row. And it's crazy what kind of state it puts you into, but it's
Mm.
inhale, inhale, let go. So it's belly, chest out, belly, chest out with this little and then, like 3 of those, it's amazing. I think Humer actually talked about this when he went on, like, a late night talk show as well. But that's so cool, and then body language as well. Body language is the same thing. If you feel crappy, you're gonna slump shoulders, shuffled feet, head down, eyes drooped. If you're proud, it's chest up, shoulders back, proud, gaits, eyes up, and it's like, well, you can that's bidirectional as well.
Mhm.
Really cool that you I think golf is just so fascinating in terms of this the mental aspect of this. Do you have any take on you talk about Kobe Bryant, same response, win or loss, this kind of like, post-game, what did you do well, which and so on. Is that your how you kinda like work through, like, losing in general? Like, is losing it can be really hard for athletes, yet every athlete experiences it. Like, every single one goes through this. Do you have a framework or do you have a thing that you kinda work through with your athletes in terms of what losing means and how to deal with it?
Well, we get together with our athletes after every tournament and we dissect, right? Just like the well, better, how. But I think as for the losing, the one thing that we really, really hit home and we get the group together at a tournament after the final round, actually after every day, we get the group together and we make sure we absolutely talk about the wins of the round. Like congrats, Lauren Kim, she shoots a 67, Farrah O'Keefe, she shot even today. Angela, you birdied 2 of your last 3 holes, right? And everybody, like, cheers for them, claps for them. But then I think you do have to dissect, like, Cindy Shu, she's ranked 30th in the world. She just won her first college tournament, like, a month ago in Hawaii, and so meeting with her, she's on cloud 9. She's thinking, "I'm ready for pro life. I'm good," but, like, it's great because then we talk about, "What was the difference, Cindy?" What was the difference between you
Mm.
winning this week? What were your behaviors? What did you do? We really, really focused on like reflecting on her mindset. Like, what were you thinking? Did you keep your phone in your golf bag? Like, phones are the biggest distractions ever. Like, were you in the green zone? Were you able to notice when you went into the yellow zone and you quickly got back into the green zone? So I think it's all about making sure you absolutely reflect on every performance, even if you're just in the gym and you're having a weight session that day, like, journal, reflect on it, be like, "Okay, like, I got better at my squat today, my single leg squat." I don't know, you name it, and just notice, but you have to make sure you also recognize the accomplishments and make sure you build yourself up, and then also reflect on, "Maybe I didn't have my best day on my deadlift, and that's okay." Like, so tomorrow I'm gonna have a plan, and so much of, like, our days are PM routine dictates our AM routine, and I'm just big on all of that. So it's all about reflection, all about diving in and just making sure that they understand the wins and the losses and the importance of reflecting both.
So yeah, that's phenomenal. That idea of the journaling is so great, and that idea of like doubling down, bringing awareness. I think it's so great. The awareness to the wins and what you did well, and the practice and the habits and the mindset you did leading up to that is so cool. One of the things I've shared before is that I wish that when I was a competitive athlete, and I certainly was a lot better as a coach than an athlete, whenever I would do well, this is such a bad habit. It's like I wish I had this awareness level. Whenever I do well, I would pass it off as like I got lucky. It was an excuse. Like the events lined up for me, right? Oh, the competitors had a bad day. Like I just got lucky. And whenever I had a bad one, I would internalize it. And I would go like, damn, like, yeah, you're just not that, and I was doing the exact opposite of what I should have been doing, which is internalizing all of the goods and the positives. That's how I compete. I'm one of the top athletes in the sport. I can handle hard things. And then anything that went awry didn't line up with expectation. Go like, oh, well, that's a one off. That wasn't like me. That was just unlucky. Whether they're doing it that specifically or not, that journaling aspect of that reflection and bringing awareness to the thought patterns, I can't overstate that enough. When they journal, do you give them prompts? Do you give them ideas of what to kind of focus on? Or is it kind of like just have a journal, write down things after training sessions and matches?
No, no, it's in our stats reports, it's literally identifying the well, better, how, and then
Oh,
it's a
great.
just
Yeah,
and
that's
then
the
it's a dis and then
yeah.
it's a discussion, and then they take what they want after that to journal. But it's so true though. I tell my team all the time, I did play professional golf, and I would say I was a much better athlete than I am a coach, and what pains me to this day is I look at my time when I did play on the LPGA tour, and I literally look at myself as if I woulda had a coach like me who was preparing them for, like, the red zones and the drills to get back, or I think about I valued my self-worth so much with whether or not I played well or not, or I made the cut, or I made a check. And I look back and I'm like, "God, if I would have had someone like me, I know I would have been great. I would have been better." And I probably wouldn't have been a golf coach because I would have made more money. But then again, I feel like there's a time and a place and a calling, and this is where I'm meant to be. And then I have 2 small daughters. And so a thing that I live by too is if I was dropping my 2 daughters off to a golf coach, if I was dropping them off to myself, would I feel safe? Would I feel comfortable? Would I feel confident that they were in good hands? Because I also look at it as I'm taking care of someone else's pride and joy, their daughters, right? So I need to make sure that I treat them as if I was coaching my own.
Such a strong perspective, like zooming out a little bit and realizing that it's a little bit more than just your backswing, your putting, your chipping. It's about, building people and playing that role for people. Laura, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome, and all the best of luck to you and the Hook 'em Horns for the rest of the way.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate your time, and we'll keep following and keep writing books. I can't wait to read more and more. I love it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so very much for tuning into the show this week. Two quick things before we go. The first, if you want even more from this episode, I do recommend you check out the full listener guide where we break down all the big ideas. We ask reflection questions. We give you steps to put these ideas into action. The link is in the show notes. And the second thing, while you're there, check out the Chase Club. It's our premium membership where we include bonus content, ad-free episodes, and the brand new Chase Tracker app. Check it all out at chasingexcellence.email.